بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وما محمد إلا رسول قد خلت من قبله الرسل إلى آخر الآية وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليك من والده وولده والناس أجمعين أو كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Honorable ulama, respected huffaz, elders and my respected brothers, mothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We begin with the praises of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. That Allah, who is mine and your soul sustainer, cherisher, nourisher, protector. That Allah, who has molded, who has fashioned, who has made insan fi ahsani taqweem, in the most beautiful of molds. In the most beautiful of molds, Allah has created him. And what perfection Allah has created insan, that I will just relate to you one example from the thousands of examples that you will find. Where you will find these examples, not in the heavens, not in the earths, not in the seas, not in the waters, not in the mountains. But you will find examples. If you want to find Allah, you will find examples وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ. وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ. That is where you will find Allah. One example I will give you, friends. In the creation, when Allah created your ear, Allah had placed 600 channels that would allow the transmission of sound. Subhanallah. Allah has placed 600 channels to allow the transmission of sound. And scientists have written that if one channel has missed a frequency, if one channel misses its frequency, insan will become deaf. Allah. 600 channels together with two bones near the middle ear. Two bones near the middle ear, that is called the osteoporosis bone. That scientists have written, if it has to vibrate for a millimeter extra in the receiving of sound, a man's eardrums will blast. Allah. Wallah, friends, we have not recognized Allah. We have not recognized who our Allah is. And until and unless the recognition of Allah will come into mine and into your hearts, it will be very difficult for us to truly appreciate the value of Iman that Allah has made us. And that value of Iman, respected elders and friends, is such that on the day of Qiyamah, يوم يفر المرء من أخيه وأمه وأبيه وصاحبته وبنيه يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم إن زلزلة الساعة شيء عظيم يوم ترونها تذهل كل مرضعة عما أرضعت وتدع كل ذات حمل حملها وترى الناس سكارى وما هم بسكارى. That is the condition of the day of Qiyamah Allah speaks of. To make you understand how much Allah has favored you with the favor of Iman. That on that day, the most horrendous of days, when insan will be running hit-hatu, he will be running to and fro, there will be none who will come to your assistance. You will stand on the mizan. يَوْمَ نَدَعُ الْمَوَازِينَ الْقِسْطَ لِيَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ فَلَا تَظْلَمُ نَفْسٌ شَيْئًا. You will stand in front of Allah on the scales. Allah will take you to task for how you have spent your life. You will have no chance. You will have absolutely no chance. And the scales will be put up. On the one side your good deeds, on the other side your bad deeds. And unfortunately, your bad deeds will outweigh your good deeds. You will have no chance, friends. Then a small piece of paper will be brought. A small piece of paper will be brought. It will be put on the right side of your scales. And suddenly, your right-hand side of your scale will jump, and it will be voluminous, and it will outweigh the left side, and your heart will beat a beat of joy. And then you will say, but where did this piece of paper come from? What is written on this piece of paper? And friends, you know what will be written on that piece of paper? La ilaha illallah. And Allah has favored you and me with this kalima. Not because of our achievements on anything on our side. Wallah, friends, each person knows his own condition. I speak for myself. I am not in any way receptive of the mercy of Allah because how much I transgress the laws of Allah. It is only through the mercy of Allah that He has favored me with the wealth and the kalima la ilaha illallah. And this favor was not even afforded to the sons of a Nabi, to the wife of a Nabi, to the family of a Nabi. And Allah favored me. Allah. Let us understand the value of Iman and let us fulfill the rights of this kalima la ilaha illallah. Respected elders and friends, I really thank you that you have taken out this weekday night together with your responsibilities, that you have come to listen. Make dua that Allah gives me firstly the ability to practice, and Allah gives all of us the ability to practice, inshallah. Picture the following in your mind. The crowd is growing. The crowd is massive. There is a massive crowd. Minute by minute, second by second, the stadium is being filled to capacity. Okay? The drums are beating. The drums are beating. The music is blaring. The scene is set. The stage is set. You're picturing it in your mind? This entire scenario that's happening. And everybody is shouting in joy and in happiness. They are shouting and they're waiting. Pagan Mecca, the pagans of Mecca, the Quraysh of Mecca, at this stadium were about to bring in Khubayb bin Adi Ansari radiyallahu anhu, who was about to be executed. He was about to be killed. And the entire stadium is waiting for his arrival. The music is playing. There is joy, there is happiness. Because why? A Muslim is about to be killed. And how he was captured, it was a very sinister and a treacherous plot that was used. A very treacherous and a very sinister plot that was used to capture him. And he was sold in the slave market for a very high price. You see, a delegation came, tribesmen came from Uthal and Qurra, and they came and they requested Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam to send with them certain Sahaba to come and teach them about Islam. They had just accepted Islam, so they requested that, O Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, send with us a few Sahaba who can teach us about Islam. Sahaba who were good teachers, who could educate them. So the request was granted. The Nabi of Allah, his request granted, he sent about approximately 10 companions. to go and teach the tribe of Uthal and Qurra about Islam. And they went. On the way when they were going, 200 men from this tribe were waiting for them. They were waiting for them on the road, and they pounced on them. And they killed most of them, but Hazrat Ali radiyallahu anhu and another Sahabi was captured, and they were sold in the slave market. When the pagans of Makkah heard, when the Quraysh heard that it was Hazrat Ali radiyallahu anhu who were captured, they paid a very high price for him. Because it was his sword that was responsible for killing many of the arch enemies of Islam during the Battle of Badr. So they found an ideal opportunity to take revenge, to avenge the death of their tribesmen, to avenge the death of their leaders. They paid a very high price for him. And they wanted to make, like they say in English, an example out of him. They wanted to make an example out of him. So they took him to the stadium in Mecca. Let's assume, in our terms, it's the Old Trafford Stadium, or the Manchester Stadium, or the Wembley Stadium. And it's full to capacity. And they brought him here to be executed. Respected elders and friends, while facing death, Khubayb radiyallahu anhu had recited a few couplets. He had recited some poetry. No poetry? He recited some couplets. And in that he mentioned that they say, the Quraysh say, if I renounce Islam, if I give up Islam. See what people went through because of Iman, friends. Just understand this Iman, the value of it. And see the sacrifice that was made because of Iman. So he said that the Quraysh said that if I renounce Islam, my life will be spared. But Wallah, he says that it is better for me to die with belief than to live with unbelief. It is better for me to die with Iman than to live with kufr. When the Quraysh realized that there is absolutely nothing that they can do to change his mind, they gave him an ultimatum. They gave him one more chance. They asked him, don't you wish that your life be spared? Don't you wish that your life be spared? And in your place, Mohammed be brought? They asked him that question. Don't you wish your life be spared? And in turn, we will free you and we will execute Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Would you not like that you would be resting in your home with your family, with your children, with your wife, in the lap of luxury, enjoying the comforts of this world? Why don't you just tell us that you want to be spared and allow us to capture Muhammad bin Abdullah? What did he reply, friends? What was his reply? Today we claim to love the Nabi of Allah. What was his reply, friends? He said, by Allah, he took an oath. I cannot imagine that a thorn pricked the foot of my Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You are asking me to spare my life in return of my Nabi. Wallah, I will not allow a thorn to prick the foot of my Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Kya muhabbat thi, kya muhabbat thi. Alfaz ke saath, muh ke saath muhabbat karna bahut aasan hai. Amal mein batana ye mushkil baat hai. Friends, these were companions who at one stage of their lives, before accepting Islam, they were vying for the blood of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But there came a time in their lives when they were prepared to drink the blood of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These were companions who before Islam were vying for his perspiration and his sweat. And they perspired in trying to eliminate him and to annihilate him. Friends, there came a time when they used his perspiration as perfume.
Subhanallah.
How did my Nabi achieve this? How did he achieve this? A remarkable transformation. And Allah had sent him to a nation that was uncouth, a nation that was uncivilized, a nation that was living in the cradle of darkness, about whom the Roman and the Persian Empire said that we will not even allow our slaves to rule over them. A nation that was eating the meat of carrion. A nation that was burying their daughters alive. He came to that nation. And in the period of 23 years, friends, he took them to the highest pinnacle of glory in history that will never be achieved by mankind. But how did he achieve this? What leadership skills did he show? That is the question. And in this short period of time, I am going to draw a comparison for you, which you just give some thought to. Just think about it. The comparison of the leadership of my Nabi compared to the comparison of the leaderships of today. Number one, a leader emerges amongst people. A ruler campaigns amongst people. A leader emerges amongst people. A ruler campaigns amongst people. It is for this reason that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has mentioned in the hadith that do not ever ask for authority. Do not ask for position. Why? For if you are granted this position as a result of your asking, you will be left alone to discharge it. However, if you are granted it without making any request, without being desirous for leadership, then what will happen, friends? Then Allah will help you to discharge your responsibility. And because my Nabi was a leader who emerged amongst people, he never campaigned amongst people. That was the first quality that he possessed. So he emerged, he never campaigned. Second, with me? Shall we carry on? A leader derives his appeal from humility. A ruler derives his appeal from superiority. A leader, always humble. A ruler, always my way or the highway. You do what I say. Huh? Look at the Sahaba. How can we ever criticize? May Allah curse that person whose tongue ever utters anything against the Sahaba.
Amin.
May Allah destroy him. Friends, in his first speech as Khalifa, Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu gave a speech that wallah is etched in the books of history as the greatest speech that was ever uttered by man.
Allah.
What did he say? Profound words. Words that makes you think that if we had leaders of this caliber today, what should our condition be? Friends, he gave a speech. He said, I have been made a leader over you, although I am not the best amongst you.
Allah.
I have been made a leader over you, although I am not the best amongst you. He further goes on to say in his speech, I have never ever sought this position, nor has there been ever a desire in my heart for this position. Now listen to his words, friends.
Allah.
If I do right, if I obey Allah and His Messenger, then you obey me. If I obey Allah and His Messenger, then you obey me. If I go astray, set me straight. If I go astray, set me straight. So obey me for as long as I obey Allah and His Rasul. If I disobey them, then you have no obligation to obey me. SubhanAllah. So a leader, humble. He derives his superiority through humility. Always conscious that Allahumma malik al-mulki tu'ti al-mulka man tasha wa tanzi' al-mulka mimman tasha. Oh Allah, you are the King of Kings. You give leadership, you give kingdom to whom so you desire, and you snatch away kingdom from whom you desire. Always conscious of the fact that Allah is in control. Respected elders and friends, the third quality of leadership that won the hearts of the pagans of Makkah that my Nabi had possessed. A leader's hallmark is mercy. A ruler's hallmark is authority. A leader's hallmark and quality is the quality of mercy, while a ruler's hallmark is of authority. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. What beautiful words my Allah has described my Nabi in the Quran. That we have not sent you except as a mercy unto the universe. And it was on account of His mercy that, wallah, friends, He had subdued the most hardest of hearts. It was on account of His mercy that He won the hearts of the most ardent enemies of Islam. It was on account of His mercy, respected elders and friends, that me and you will be perhaps saved on the day of Qiyamah. Such was the compassion, such was the mercy of the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Listen to this, friends, that when he used to start the prayer, when he used to make imamah, with the intention to lengthen it, with the intention to make it long, with the intention of reciting qira'ah. Then he says, I used to hear a child crying. I used to hear a child crying, so immediately I made it shorter. Knowing that a mother will be distressed by hearing the cries of her child. So even something that was fard, the mercy enveloped his heart to that extent that he could not see a child cry in the presence of his mother. Respected elders and friends, Aisha radiyallahu anha states that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to hug his children. He used to kiss his grandchildren. He used to play with his grandchildren, To that extent that one day a villager said with surprise, he said, "Oh Nabi of Allah, I have 10 children. I have 10 children. I have never kissed any of them." The Nabi of Allah said, "He who does not show mercy, mercy will not be shown on him." To what extent? Marra ala sibyan, faqul as-salam alaykum. He passed children playing. The Nabi of Allah. Huh? The Nabi of Allah, about whom Allah said that in your praise, never will my name be mentioned again except with your name, O Muhammad. But when he passed children, what did he do? He made salam. He made salam. Today we walk past as elders, well, we make salam. Let's ask the serious question, friend. E poiro che ine mane salam karo. E kati avi gyo. Uto motto che. Ine mane salam karwani. Ne baba bhi ine minde hi kelo che. Past children he made salam.
Wow.
That was his quality, friend. So you think that child would never become attached to him? Of course that child would become attached to him. Respected elders and friends, the fourth quality of a leader shows undying concern. A leader is always concerned. A ruler demands undying compliance. You must follow me or else. You must follow me or else. Respected elders and friends, Allah mentions this fact. لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُّمْ حَرِيصٌ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَءُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. Allah so beautifully shows the concern of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that there comes to you a messenger of Allah who is so anxious about you, who is so concerned about you, who is so worried about you. It grieves him that you should suffer. It makes his heart pain. How much of concern have we shown for his ummah? Or have we become selfish ummatis? Respected elders and friends, from amongst his qualities of mercy was that he never felt it below his dignity. Though he was the Nabi of Allah, he never felt it below his dignity to walk along with a widow or to walk along with a poor person who was in need of something. Respected elders and friends, he visited the sick. He attended the janazah of the Muslims. He accepted the invitation of a slave. He treated orphans well and charitably. He commanded people to care for them with excellence, so much so that he said, me and a person who looks after an orphan will be like this in Jannah.
Subhanallah.
We will be like this in Jannah. Respected elders and friends, he also said the best home among the homes of a Muslim is one wherein an orphan is treated well.
Subhanallah.
So much of care, so much of concern, so much of worry. For even that person who was downtrodden, that person who had nothing to look forward to, my Nabi said, if you look after him, I'll sort you out upstairs.
Subhanallah.
Subhanallah. Then, nevertheless, the fifth quality of a leader, he is always reliable. Always. A leader is reliable. A ruler is reliant. That is the difference. There are three signs of a munafiq, of a hypocrite. إِذَا حَدَثَ كَذَبَ. When he speaks, he lies. When he makes a promise, he breaks it. And when he is entrusted, he betrays his trust. Never in the history of humanity will you find a personality. At the time of Hijrah, look at the trustworthiness of the Nabi, that prior to his prophethood, even his most arch enemies were forced to term him as Siddiq. Even his forced enemies were to term him as Al-Amin, as the trustworthy. He even made arrangements at the time when his life was at stake. When he made hijrah to Mecca, his life was at stake, friends. The mushrikeen of Mecca had surrounded his house to persecute him, to kill him, to execute him. Even at that time, he made arrangements and he said, "Oh Ali, everybody who has a trust with me, make sure you return it to them." Despite the fact that his very own life was at stake. So a leader is reliable, a ruler is reliant. The seventh quality that the Nabi had, a leader always elects people of expertise. He knows that this person would be able to do the job that he is entrusted with. While a ruler elects people for expediency, meaning he elects people that will suit himself, that will suit his agenda. Respected elders and friends, it is for this reason that Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah alayhi has mentioned that whoever delegates a position to someone who is not competent, whoever gives a position to somebody who is not competent, despite there being somebody who is more competent than him to do the job, then he has verily cheated Allah. Ibn Taymiyyah has mentioned this. A leader is free from greed. A ruler thrives on greed. My Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was a personality who always gave but never received. His hand was always involved in fulfilling the needs of others, never for himself. Respected elders and friends, it is for this reason that he mentioned that three things are part of good morals for a believer. Sorry. Three things are part of good morals for a believer. When he is angry, his anger should not allow him to be driven to falsehood. When he is angry, his anger should not drive him to falsehood. When he is happy, his happiness should not take him beyond that which is right. And lastly, when he has power, he should not stake claim to something that does not belong to him. A leader, our master, our leader, Sayyidina Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If you analyze his character, friends, cheerful, easygoing, lenient, happy, joyful, all the time, never rude, never clamorous, never indecent, never vulgar. A leader, never a reproacher, never a praiser, never looking for praise. A person who overlooked that which he did not desire. A person who gave his preference to others over himself. A leader, respected elders and friends, who was always at the disposal of his flock. Always ready to serve those who were in need. Wallah, in our hearts of hearts, we have this yaqeen and this conviction that if we are able to bring a percentage of the character of our Nabi into our lives, we will draw people to Islam. It does not help, it does not behove a believer that when the enemies of Islam press a button, then we jump. No, friends. A believer's life, a believer's constitution runs around the sunnah of my Nabi. The sunnah and the character of my Nabi is the axle on which the deen of Islam rotates. It is the wheels of the vehicle on which the vehicle will move. It is not when the enemies will tell you, but rather you need to ask your own heart. You need to search within the deepest recesses of your heart. and say for a day or two, do I protest and do I riot? Or for my entire life, do I follow the sunnah of my Nabi? I will not be allowed to be dictated, but rather I will dictate the terms by showing them the akhlaq of my Nabi. That we need to understand, friends. And that is the cry and the need of this hour. That is the cry and the need of this hour. So beautifully it is mentioned. Do not tell people what Islam is. Do not tell people who the Nabi is. Show them. Do not tell people who the Nabi is. Show them who your Nabi was. Subhanallah. Back in South Africa, and I will conclude with this. I've taken up much of your time. Sorry about that. Apologize. Back in South Africa, when this whole scenario of this movie, you know, Innocence of Muslims, that came up. So a person came up to me and he said, Moulana, what should we do? There was a call at that time to boycott YouTube and Google. You know YouTube and Google? The search machines of the internet. So he said, Moulana, what should we do? Should we boycott YouTube and Google? I said, my brother, instead of boycotting YouTube and Google, boycott sins. Boycott the disobedience of Allah. Boycott the Western fashions and the molds of today. Boycott that which will make Allah and His Rasul unhappy.
Subhanallah.
Boycott that which drives you away from Allah. Boycott that which Allah has asked you to boycott, and then you will see how YouTube and Google will come into your hands. That is the need of the hour, friends. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give me and all of us the ability to inculcate the beautiful character of my Nabi, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us the true ambassadors, and may Allah make us the true vicegerents of Deenul Islam. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.